So while I was out four-wheel driving on Stockton Beach the other day, it appears my alternator has died. So today I'm going to switch out an alternator. I'm going to put the old one that I took out originally back in when I upgraded it for a higher amperage alternator. So I'm going to put that back in. I'm going to run through how to do that. I just noticed that my clutch on my fan, thermo fan, is a little bit wobbly, so I'm going to be replacing that as well.
This is a selection of the tools that I use to do the job. First, release the tensioner pulley. And then take off the belt. Unclip the power from the air conditioner. You may need to remove the air cleaner just to get access to the bolts on the air conditioner. Undo the 4 bolts on holding the air conditioner in, just to get access so that you can see what you're doing below. Throughout this video you may see my flexi shaft on my socket set. I picked that up off eBay, absolutely love it. I use an octopus strap to hold things out of the way a lot. You may have a better way of doing this, that's fine. Now before you start playing with the alternator, make sure you disconnect the positive of the battery. This way you're not going to get a spark if you accidentally touch something while undoing bolts with your socket. Undo the tensioner screw on the alternator. I have actually taken the alternator out without taking the air conditioner compressor off. But to get it back on is very fiddly and you're just guessing what you're doing underneath. So I usually take the air conditioning compressor out. You need to get access to the bottom bolt. Now my car has had modifications and things changed, so it has an Allen key where there should be a bolt. You'll see this a bit later on. So I did have to get in here underneath to get at that bolt. Taking off the bottom plate does make it a whole lot easier for access, just so you can see what you're doing. Once you've loosened everything off, you're able to take the belts off. Now, before you completely disconnect the alternator, make sure to disconnect the power wire from the back of the alternator. This is the Allen key that holds my alternator on. Not standard, I will be replacing it with a hex head, so that if I'm out in the bush and something goes wrong, it's a more standard fit. make sure to disconnect the plug from the back of the alternator. I found this a little bit fiddly as it had been in there a long time and had dirt and muck jammed in. Once it's all free, the alternator just lifts out. Now I gave this a spin. You might be able to hear the old bearings are stuffed in that. Upon pulling the alternator apart, it was completely shredded inside. New one runs nice and smooth. So onto the fan. You need to stop the fan rotating while you undo. I used a screwdriver to jam in between the shaft and one of the bolts, and a ring spanner to crack them and undo them, and just worked around each one like that. Once I had all the nuts off, I found that it was stuck. It had been there for a long time, so I had to use a screwdriver and a hammer just to give it a bit of a tap and a bit of a lever, and then gradually work round and round and round to pull it nice and square off the nut so I didn't damage the thread. Now to actually get the fan off completely, you'll have to take the alternator shroud off. There's 2 bolts at the top of this. You will need to remove the radiator hose. Don't make the mistake that I did and forget to have something ready to catch your fluid. Dispose of this fluid and put new fluid in when you're done. It's best not just to let it run on the ground. Now you will find that the shroud's very tight, and I spent a little bit of time just trying to get it out. Normally you have to remove the battery and the battery tray to get the shroud out. I was just seeing if there was a way I could do it without it. If anybody knows of a way to do this, please post in the comments below. I completely removed the battery and the battery tray just to get access in so I could get the shroud out and the fan. If you're doing this for yourself, you may find a few extra bolts. My battery tray was missing a couple of bolts. They've snapped off over the years, or the previous owner hasn't put them back in, I'm not sure. But there was a few missing. Just beware, you will need a few extra bolts. Once the battery was out, the battery tray was out, it all came out great. Unscrew the old fan. Nice brand new Daco clutch. I just checked that it was the same before screwing it on. I do use my little Ryobi rattle ratchet a lot to do screws up, just to nip them up tight and then do them up by hand to avoid overstripping. Once the new fan's on, it's just reverse the process. I did put the fan in and screw the nuts back up, screw the shroud back on, and put the battery box back in and the battery. Once you've clamped the radiator on, don't forget to refill the radiator. You can probably see there's a lot of extra wires in my poor old 80 series. It has been added onto, hacked and changed by previous owners. I have inherited quite a few problems, as I'm sure a lot of other people have. In putting the fan back on, I used the same system, the screwdriver to hold the fan from rotating on the engine, and just went round and locked up all the nuts one at a time, just gradually pulled it on nice and even to avoid damaging the thread. Once that was done, I put the other alternator back in. If you're just doing the alternator, you would pick up at this point again. It was a combination of working from the top and working from the bottom to get it to line up. I was having trouble getting my new bolt through the hole because it had a skinnier Allen key bolt through. What I did to fix this was take it out and just run it through with my battery rattle ratchet in and out a few times. Clean out the whole of all gunk. I would recommend also, which I don't show in this video, polishing up each side where it goes into the bracket, just to give it a good negative contact to the engine. This is the part where I say it's quite fiddly if you don't have the air conditioning compressor out. It's getting all the brackets and bolts lined back up and sitting in their right places. Once again there you can see my flexi shaft, purchased off eBay. Absolutely love it, it speeds things up a lot. Once your alternator's mounted, you can reconnect the power and put the plug back in. Make sure to tighten everything up as you go and to check the tension of the belts. It's a lot easier to adjust the belts on the alternator without the air conditioning compressor on top, so make sure you do this before you put that back in. Then you need to lock up the bolt at the bottom of the alternator just to make sure that it's locked nice and tight and can't move. Once you've done this, start putting all your air intake back on. Mine is the 80 series turbo diesel, so my air pipe does run down and through the turbo. I wouldn't recommend just going off the tension of the bendy flexible shaft. It doesn't do the bolts up to what you need. Once you've got the air conditioning compressor back in, hook your belt up and then tension this belt back up to what you need. Make sure to lock everything up, put everything back where it is, And seriously guys, I hope you don't have any bolts left over. Once I had all that back in, then make sure you put the plate back on the bottom. This just protects stuff going up into your radiator and other things like that. If you like my video, please click the like button, subscribe to my channel, and check out my other videos. Thanks for watching.